Let's take a look at project beginning balance journals. All right, so we'll demonstrate beginning balance journals, but before we do, I'll just give you an overview of what they are. So beginning balance journals are basically an implementer's dream. They are used to register transactions to a project without affecting the general ledger. Typically, a beginning balance journal is used to bring historical data of your in-flight or legacy projects in during an implementation. So let's go ahead and review the setup and the creation of a beginning balance journal. All right, so we are going to go ahead and demonstrate creating beginning balance journals. So step one in creating beginning balance journals is we have to create the journal name. So we'll be under project management and accounting, setup, journals, journal names. And I already had one created or created one earlier. So basically, I mean, it's the same as any other journal. You come in, you define the name, which is alphanumeric, give it a description. The main thing that you need to focus on here is the journal type. You have to make sure you define beginning balances, else it will be some other journal type. Voucher series you're required to define, but is really not applicable for beginning balance journals because you do not post to the ledger. The other stuff is just like it was on the other journals, and we talked about those in previous modules, or lessons I should say. So if we want to use a beginning balance journal, we can get to it through the beginning balance journal menu. Other than that, there's one also that you can get to directly from a project, so let's look at doing that. So I'm just going to go to the All Projects form and create a new project. And we'll call it Opening Balance Test. And we will pick time and material with WIP costs as our project group. And we will use that contract, and we're fine here. We'll just create the project. And basically from here, this is pretty cool that you can get to a beginning balance journal. You just do it up on the action menu, and it's on the project tab. There's the beginning balance button right here, so you can select that button and it brings you to the journal form in the context of the specific project transaction or project that you're on. So if I create a new one and we look at the default value, it defaults in that project ID for us, which is nice. There it is. So there's our journal, pretty standard journal. Got the general tab, which is the defaults from the journal name. The default values, if you want to define those, and they'll default into your lines, and then the blocking and history tab. So we'll jump to the lines. So we have 3 tabs in here, which is a little different than we're used to. On the first tab is where you enter your expenses, hours, and items. On the second tab, you can enter fees. And on the third tab, you can enter on accounts. So we'll focus on the first tab here. So I'll just add some lines here. So our project's defaulting in, which is 171, and we'll say the transaction type is of hour type, and the category, we'll just pick design, and then we'll say there was 100 hours at 180 rate at a $300 sales price. And the other thing to note is the cost status. So you can define whether your original posting status, whether it's or where the posting is at currently, because if you're posting to WIP and you imported your GL balances into WIP accounts, that WIP still needs to be relieved. So you can tell the system that it's in WIP, and when you need to invoice this thing, it will relieve the WIP then. So basically we can say it's in balance sheet accounts, and don't think you're done there, because down at the bottom there's quite a few fields that you need to apply values to. So line property, we'll say it's a billable line property. The other important one down here is the transaction status, because you can tell the system whether it's posted or invoiced. So if it's a time and material project that you're working with, that's pretty important business that we're talking there. So if you put something as posted, it can still be billed out to the customer. If it's in an invoice status, you can flag it as invoiced, and then it won't show up to be invoiced to the customer. So we'll put this one as invoiced, and then we'll just add another line here, and we'll say it's of item type, and pick the category, define the item, put the quantity, we'll say 100 of those. Looks like this item doesn't have a cost price or sales price. I'll grab a different one. How about this one? Let's say we're billing. And we'll try and save that. Let's see. I'm going to try this one more time. I'm going to remove that line here. And I will add it back. I want pricing to come in. And if it doesn't, that's fine. We'll populate it for it. Yeah, that's cool. Whatever. 100, 250, 350. There we go. And we'll say the cost is sitting in on the profit and loss sheet or the income statement. So we will say that this is billable and it's in a posted status. So we can save that record, and now I'm just going to enter some fees and on accounts. So a fee is very applicable to a time and material project. So we can define that. We only have one category that we could pick. We'll call it fee, and we'll just say there was a $1,000 fee, and it has yet to be invoiced. But we brought in those beginning balances through our GL import during data migration. And we'll save here. So this warning is saying the fee transaction that is marked not to accrue would not generate a project ledger transaction when posted, and therefore should not be included in the beginning balance journal. Fee transactions that are marked not to accrue should be posted to the regular fee journal instead. So we can say, yes, we accrued the revenue, so it's sitting in an accrual account. All right. So next, we'll add an on account just to show you that. We'll just put it for 10 grand, something like that. And notice that there's no, what is the field that I'm thinking of? Transaction status field here. They just always come over as fully invoiced. So we have all our transactions. I'll try and post this. Let's try a different category here. What does that mean? Journal. Unable to post line type. Yeah, didn't like the balance. Oh, I see why. Because we're saying that it was invoiced. If it's in an invoice status, you can't post to a balance sheet account. So that was my problem there. So that's actually good that we ran into that. You have to make things make sense, because if you're just going to post the costs potentially to a balance sheet account and say that it's invoiced, the invoice routine is what actually relieves your balance sheet account or your WIP account and then moves those costs to the P&L. So it was giving me a bogus error, but we figured out what the issue is. Anyways, let's just go look at the project real quick. So I suppose I can get to it from here. Here's project 171. All right. So if we go to the Manage tab within this project and go to Posted Transactions, there we go. So here's our beginning balances. So you can see that's fully invoiced right here. That was the, what is it? The hours that we put. We said that they were fully invoiced. Well, our material is still in a chargeable status. We have a fee that's in a chargeable status, and our on account is fully invoiced. So just to prove this out, if we go to an invoice proposal, we can't create one right now because we're probably in a created stage. Yes. So I'll put us in process, but I'll just show you the initial form to creating an invoice. We should only see 2 transactions, which we do. We see the item and the fee, which we can bill to the customer. So one last thing, if we go to the posted transaction form here, if we hit the voucher, on a typical transaction, right, you'd see the ledger impact. Here we should see nothing, and we do. So hopefully you can see the benefit in this. I mean, it's doing two things. It's getting your subledger impact in there, and then it's also defining whether it's billable or not. This is a very useful journal, and I hope when you're implementing AX you can make use of it.